Oh, no, I see,
down.
I see it.
Pardon me?
No, they're just,
Comparing to,
yeah.
okay. Cool, yeah, I'm going to get started with roll call.
We have started it, yeah. Submitted the bill, give it back to you so you can sign. You know.
Oh, I
Is
have.
there something going on?
Yeah, just,
Oh, okay.
there you go.
So here, did you say you wanted a copy of it?
Yeah, I'll take an electronic copy.
Great, so, yeah, roll call, Sean. Linda,
Linda
Erie.
Gilman, here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Earrings, President. Lee Gaston, Rudy, Mr. Clyde Mayfield, how are you doing?
Good. And you?
Doing well, Susie's here. Myself. Has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda today?
Yes.
You can go ahead and get set forth for the approval of the agenda. And go ahead and approve the agenda. You have a second?
Second.
And I would say, I agree to approve it. We do have a duplication of Linda Gilman's name in
Minutes.
in the minutes. Oh, is that, yeah, that's the minutes. Oh, okay, we're good, yeah.
And, yeah, next item, approval of the minutes. Are we okay with that duplication?
We have to edit it.
We have to edit it, yeah.
I have one comment on the minutes that, I'm not sure how the determination is made as to who lists as commissioners and who is other, but Ms. Greenwald is listed as a commissioner. I am listed other present, so I'll go through the procedural point of noting that there's disagreement about that. But other than that, I have no other comment on the minutes.
You want to adjust that,
Well,
actually?
yeah, that's the agenda, right? The agenda or the minutes that the,
I believe it's referring to the minutes.
The minutes.
okay, all right, I'm good, I'm with you guys now.
So in the section of commissioners present, we do have Susan Greenwald present as commissioner. Lee Gaston is listed as others present.
I would assert that's incorrect, but I recognize that there's not unanimity in the interpretation.
Well, it is something that we have to get squared away.
Yeah.
Are we doing that today?
Yeah, the resolution is on the agenda.
For the resolution.
F and old business.
Thank you. Okay, make note of that. So it looks like we can address that when we get to old business. Go and get on to the director's report.
So, do we have an approval of the minutes?
How do we prove it if we have questions?
Yeah, what's the typical flow of that?
So, if we have an edit, like to fix somebody's name twice, still approve it with the edit. So that before the finalized version goes out, we
Okay.
have that in.
move. What about
Second.
the commissioner present section?
Yeah, that's what we're discussing. I think that should be edited so that we have Susan Greenwald listed as others present.
So that would, if you still haven't done anything with the resolution, so that wouldn't change the previous minutes.
There's,
So that would be going forward, you would change.
You could table approval of minutes, or you could edit the minutes to show there's objection to them as described.
That-
I wouldn't object to either of
So
those.
the question is whether or not, who's being recognized as a commissioner, and that's related to the resolution. So until something is done with the resolution, then the people who are recognized as commissioners stay the same.
So can we table the
That would,
minutes until after that, or?
but that wouldn't change last month's minutes because you haven't done anything with the resolution.
Well, but I think it's still a question of who those commissioners are.
But that's in the
That's
resolution.
in the resolution.
Well, no, we're talking about who the,
Who's identified as a commissioner is addressed in the
oh.
resolution. And so to change who's identified as as a commissioner, you'd have to change the resolution. Does that make sense?
No, because what was proposed to change the resolution last time, we did not change it.
Right.
But prior to that, there's still a question of whether Ms. Greenwald, Walt, is a commissioner who should be recognized as a commissioner.
Right, so that's.
Just like there's a question of whether
Right.
Lee should be.
That's contained within the resolution, so.
So I think what we're trying to say is if Ms. Greenwald is questionable and Lee is questionable, then they should be in the same category, not,
But that
not
wouldn't
the
be.
same. Not,
So-
you know what I'm saying?
So then that wouldn't, you would have to change the resolution before you could change that. Otherwise,
Because the resolution stands as stated.
so it would be, well, that, if, I'm explaining it in a way that makes sense. So the resolution says that these people are recognized as commissioners until the resolution is, replaced.
and when would that,
So
would that
there's
be
five
today?
recognized?
So there would be.
I thought today we were voting on it.
Okay.
Could we
So
move the
that's
resolution
what
up
it's
to
going to say.
where we could just do it now? And then,
So then we would have had to, change the agenda. And we just voted to approve the agenda.
You're
So
saying
to
that-
change the, or the way that,
Can we
But that
discuss the
still
resolution
didn't
first?
change,
that's what I just said.
that still wouldn't change the previous meeting because at that point, the resolution was filed.
Minutes don't have to be approved at the next meeting, it's preferable if they are, but that issue could be tabled pending resolution of other matters.
that
Well-
doesn't change the previous month's minutes, if that makes sense. The resolution has to be changed before the status changes. And so because the resolution wasn't changed, then the status doesn't change.
Well, I think the status was questioned at the last meeting and the meeting before that.
But it wasn't changed, might have been questioned, but it wasn't a change.
Well, that's the same thing as Lee, he's questioned, but he hasn't changed.
Correct.
So they're both questioned, so they both could be put in other.
Correct.
And we always get nowhere.
No, I think we don't move on, we'll put him on other.
Okay.
Well, that's our vote, that's what we're gonna vote on.
Well, so that needs to be, there's a motion and a second on the table, so that needs to be voted on. And then if you wanna make a different motion, then that would have to be voted on, that would have to be made and seconded. So there needs to be a vote on the initial motion and second that's on the table.
Okay, so we need to vote on putting Ms. Greenwald on the other section? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
So
No.
Susie made a motion and Clyde seconded to approve the minutes with the edit of
Linda.
Linda's name on there twice.
Who seconded
So
that?
that's waiting on a vote.
Susan?
I think we're trying to have a
They-
conversation earlier, so.
They should be set as two separate items. So we'll separate Linda's duplication with Susie's being listed on the commissioner's present section. So we can go ahead and vote on that part. So this is for the edit to move Susan Greenwald from commissioners present to others
Well,
present.
No,
There's a motion on the floor, so you have to vote on the motion that's on the floor.
And-
but the minutes were approved with the edit of Linda's name.
Oh, I
First.
apologize, I went out over that. Yeah, I'm gonna vote on that. All in favor of the edit of Linda's duplication?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Okay, I need to go back. Who made the motion? Did I make the motion for Linda's name?
Susie made it and Clyde seconded.
For
Did
Linda's
everybody
name?
just vote in favor?
Mhm.
Okay, so Susie,
That's just for Linda's name, right?
yeah,
The motion was to approve the minutes with the edit of Linda's name,
Okay,
and so everybody just voted in favor of that.
yes.
Okay, so,
Now we can move on to the edit of moving Susan Greenwald from commissioners present to others present.
That, you just approved the minutes with the previous.
that's what
vote.
that was my question earlier. Is that a separate approval? Because Linda's name duplication is one, and then the
Correct.
commissioner's name,
That's what I asked you to
another one.
separate.
But, so you would have to vote, if you were wanting to change the minutes, you would have had to vote down Susie's motion to approve the minutes.
That's what I
just-
attempted to do the first time, and you said we were
Okay,
talking
I
about.
said you have to vote on hers and then make a second motion
Well, Susie's motion was to approve the minutes
with the edit of
with the edit of
Linda's name.
Linda's name.
So at that point, the minutes are approved.
But then what they're talking about is
there's an omission
moving
here.
the name, that would have to come underneath after.
But you,
The
they're already-
resolution revulsion.
They're already approved, that wouldn't,
Okay, I'm gonna have to rescind my vote then.
well, it's already been
It can't be rescinded.
voted on.
It seems
Of
like there
course
was,
it
You can do what
can.
you want.
I mean, it's been approved, voted and approved.
Well, it wasn't
The
clear. though. I
commissioner
don't
did
think-
not
There
understand
was
the
a,
motion she was
there
voting
was a
on. She's
confusion.
entitled to raise the issue.
That's what I thought.
I think given the misunderstanding, we can go ahead and revote now that we are all on the same page.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, all in favor, let's vote on that. All in favor of rescinding the previous vote? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Right.
The record reflect,
And
No.
so
Just,
so we just voted on that.
according to the Administrative Procedures Act, because we don't have a quorum requirement in our ordinance, it's 2/3 of the members are required to take action. So
City attorney disagrees.
we don't have 2/3 voting in favor of 4 of 6.
I think taking into consideration, that previous items were approved with 4 members.
They weren't though.
There have been plenty of media reports showing.
There were, so what Brian Hyerson done was a list of meetings where we only had 5 commissioners and 4 of the 5 attended.
I'm actually referring to a different media post that was showing approval of minutes as well as other items. I don't have it on hand, but
There were 2 meetings over the last, I think, 5 years where we had 4 of 7 commissioners attended, when we had a full commission. The commission has previously operated under the understanding that we go under the Iowa Civil Rights Act because they say 4 of 7 members is a quorum. We've recently been informed that we are not using the Iowa Civil Rights Act to determine things relating to membership. So with that in mind, we have to comply with what the Administrative Procedures Act says, which there's extensive case law saying that local commissions are expected to comply with the Administrative Procedures Act. So that is a thing where we need to have, it's 2/3 based on the Administrative Procedures Act. So we have to make sure that we're doing it the proper way to make sure that we are not having, we're not doing things differently than the way that it's required under state law. Because if we do, it could create a due process violation because we're handling things relating to people's civil rights, constitutional rights, and it could create an issue with us doing things in a legal way.
So what
So-
happens? What happens when technically there's only 4 commissioners accepted right now? And,
we have 6.
a lot of things.
I mean, the others are questionable.
I would raise doubt about the assertion Ms. Lacy's making based on both the Attorney General's guidance that's on the state website, as well as an opinion from the City Attorney's Office. The state website indicates that the 2/3 requirement relates to state bodies. City bodies are, unless otherwise mentioned in statute able to operate with a quorum that's a majority. That opinion is also shared by the city attorney's office, which would say that the quorum for this commission act would be 4 commissioners.
So that's, the city attorney is not the commission's attorney. That's one issue. Secondly, the Iowa Civil Rights Act specifically says that we are supposed to operate according to the Iowa Administrative Procedures Act. The rules that we operate under the Iowa Civil Rights Act, their administrative rules, say that we're supposed to operate in accordance with the Iowa Administrative Procedures Act. There is extensive case law that says municipal civil rights commissions are supposed to act in accordance with the Administrative Procedures Act. So-
I think we all understand that.
Right.
The question is, if we only have 4 commissioners technically accepted currently.
But we don't because, and that was the reason for the February 4th resolution, because there was a lack of clarity. So that's why the February 4th resolution was enacted, because there was this uncertainty about who was and was not a commissioner. So they issued the February 4th resolution to eliminate that uncertainty, to make sure that any commission business conducted was conducted legally.
But that didn't do that, because people who signed that resolution are subject of the confusion.
Right. They are still, they were still commissioners at that time, based on the deficiencies in the appointment. So there was the.
Even that's questionable.
That's the question.
No, it's not.
I
No.
disagree, that is questionable, because one side is saying that they're not commissioners, other side is saying they are.
So we haven't had the discussion here, to give you all that background information, but there were 2 issues with the appointment. There was the issue of whether or not they were duly appointed, and then there was the separate issue of being qualified.
There's a dog underneath. Did he bump you or something?
No, but I'm rubbing my feet and I'm thinking,
I have a fur,
I thought it was a carpet.
But so there were those 2 issues, and so the question that everybody had was whether or not they were duly appointed. There's still the issue of whether or not they were qualified, and that was including taking the oath of office, which they didn't do. So at the time that this was signed, they hadn't taken an oath of office, so the previous commissioners were still holding over. So they were not, their status was not questioned, because they were valid commissioners at the time that this was signed. And they still are, because it still hasn't been an oath of office taken. So
Have we taken an oath
that
of
was
office?
still, but you all were not replacing someone, so you came into a vacancy. So coming into a vacancy is different than replacing someone. So if someone is holding over office, the new person doesn't take over until they take their oath of office and duties. So coming into a vacant office, you can come in as a de facto commissioner because the office is vacant, and even if there's a deficiency in your appointment, if you come in and take over the duties, you can start conducting duties. Replacing someone who's still holding over, you can't do that. So that's what the statute says, there's state law that says that.
There's a different interpretation of that, though.
No, the interpretation is just that they think that civil rights commissioners don't have to take an oath of office, and that's.
But all of it is, you have a gray area, because there's different interpretations, there's 2 different sides, and that's why we ended back where we started from. But before we go on with this, because this is probably gonna go on for a while, I need a reminder, who approved the agenda? Who did the motion to approve the agenda?
I believe it
I
was
do.
Linda. I'm sorry, Susan.
The minutes or the agenda?
The agenda.
Michael and
I
Ruby.
second.
You
Michael and
seconded
Ruby.
it?
Michael made a
Michael.
motion and
Okay.
Ruby made a second.
There's confusion.
I
And
don't know if that's, I don't know the procedural, way of approving something and then saying, I want to not approve it. I don't know that that's,
Can we find out?
Well, if you're gonna vote for something, I think you have to have the full understanding of what you're voting for.
right.
Since we didn't have that earlier,
But you,
I think we have the right to rescind that vote.
but that's, you're supposed to get the understanding of what you're voting on before you vote.
Well, we did, we thought we had
I
that
asked.
understanding, but
And
we clearly, 4 people thought something else, then other 2 people thought something else.
I would make a suggestion, that as long as this commission relies upon Ms. Lacy as its parliamentarian and its counsel, we will make no progress.
I
think
don't
that
know what to think of that.
That the,
What does that mean exactly?
exactly what I said. I don't believe the guidance that you're giving as counsel or as parliamentarian is necessarily reliable for the
And
operations
what are
of
you
this
basing that on?
commission. The almost 7 months of procedural delays that this commission has experienced and being able to resolve these matters.
So that's not, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. I am offended by that personally, because you're saying that I'm giving inaccurate legal advice. And I'm not sure what that's based upon.
Well, I think opinions from the city attorney, opinions from the city council, my own
The city
reading
attorney does
of
not
the
give legal
legislation,
advice to the
the
commission.
state
though.
attorney's website, and I don't particularly want to engage in a
And-
debate with you about
I
it.
mean, we don't have to engage in debate, but I think that it should be very clear that the city attorney does not represent the commission. The city attorney does not give the commission
The commission
legal
can,
advice.
commissioners can determine who they choose to use as counsel.
No, they cannot. The city attorney does not act as the commissioner's attorney, and that is very clear by the ordinance. So the commission.
It hasn't passed, and.
No, it has not.
Okay,
I think you are misunderstanding the role of the city attorney. The city attorney can act as the commission's prosecutor for violations of the ordinance. The city attorney does not act as the commission's attorney. Our ordinance specifically says that the director has to be an attorney for the reason that the commissioners expect the director to serve as the attorney. So my legal opinions are widely valued within the Civil Rights Commission, within the civil rights community. I have had significant successful lawsuits, and the investigations with our federal counterparts, they respect my legal opinion. So I don't know what you're basing that on, and I view that as slander. I mean, I don't know what you're basing that on. That's very offensive to me.
I'm not
That's- I think
questioning
that's
your legal
harmful.
judgment
That's
regarding
exactly what
civil
you're
rights
doing.
issues,
That's exactly what you're doing.
not civil rights issues, I'm
That's it. I think we should
objecting.
move on, because I think that's.
I think
we're
that's a
getting
great
different.
idea.
We're getting,
I think that's a dog whistle. I think that's what that sounds
I mean,
like.
that's very, I don't know what.
Didn't like that at all.
No,
Let's go ahead and table this discussion.
What are you looking at?
Respectfully, and then we can-
well,
I'm
we're
listening
not
to you.
going
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need to be stirred up, please, thank you.
That's, wow.
I think we need to move past the approval of the minutes, let it stand.
Stay away from personal attacks.
So it seems like
And
we were.
When we get down to section F of the old business, and that's where that can be addressed.
That's correct.
But in all fairness, I have to let you know that I have to leave at 12:30. I have an appointment in Iowa City at 2:00. I wish I could stay because it's a very good meeting, but my hands are tied on that one.
We understand. We understand.
If you wanted to participate via telephone, you can as well.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to, going on the interstate.
That'll be fine. So, do we wanna just move on to the director's report?
My question is, how can we move forward if we don't even agree on
So that was the question that
who
we asked
should be
initially,
here?
is if we could just jump straight to the resolution, but it appeared to be that we had to follow this sequentially.
But you voted on the minutes,
And that's what we were discussing,
Right.
is rescinding that vote.
and I don't know procedurally how to do that, or if that's a permissible thing, because they've
Who
already
would
been
know?
approved.
Do you?
Well, I think,
If you all want to do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I
if
think
that's a thing, so.
if,
I think we already did.
if you don't know, then we'll just, everyone seemed to carry out their rescind except for Mr. Clyde Mayfield and Ms. Susie Greenwald.
Right, so you don't have the 2/3 to move it.
So then that was a topic, that we would have to
I keep going back.
address. Well, we'd have to address
In
it.
circles.
There is a discrepancy.
Right.
So as a commission, we value the input that you've given us, but we are able to act on our own in this regard.
I think we did already.
So using the 4 members to account as a quorum is, I believe, how we, as a commission, are proceeding.
And I think you have to put in the minutes why you have come to that conclusion, because I don't think that that's the way
Because
that.
there's been questions on who the commissioners are.
But I think
But I think you need 5, so there will be questions as to
think?
legality. well, our ordinance says 2/3 for going into closed session. And the Iowa Administrative Procedures Act
I
says that you need
understand,
2/3.
I understand that. What happens though if there's questions about who the members are?
But that's
You
what the
still won't
resolution-
have that.
That's what the resolution is, I think. If you replace the resolution, that's where you get the clarity on if you want to change who the 3 members are, that's how you change it.
If it's a matter of simply adding a reason why, I think,
I think that needs to be included in the minutes
Of
because,
course. Have a new
I think
resolution.
simply having lack of clarity would be the reason why.
but that you have a lack of clarity of how many constitutes a quorum.
Well, you mentioned, you saying, I think,
I know that you need 2/3 because that's what case law has said. That's what the rules say for the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. We have a contract with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission that says that we're gonna do things in accordance with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission's rules and the Iowa Civil Rights Act.
and regarding the Attorney General suggesting otherwise.
There is no suggestion otherwise. The Attorney General's opinion says that you need 2/3 if your ordinance is silent on it.
Is that
The
what-
actual law says, well, I sent everyone what the Attorney General's opinion was. The actual law says that the Iowa Administrative Procedures Act applies to state agencies. The case law says that local civil rights commissions are supposed to comply with the Administrative Procedures Act. If we don't comply with it, then we are violating people's constitutional rights. So that's what was sent out to everyone, after the meeting. So I wanted to make sure that I was saying the right thing because I don't want to give the wrong information. So that's what the law says, that's what case law says, and that's what the Attorney General's opinion was.
Well,
I am-
go ahead, go ahead.
I'm under the impression that the commissioners are the ones who vote. Okay. And I vote that we accept the rescinding and,
Well, that's,
and
no, there's a vote on the floor for redoing the approval of the minutes. So we just need to put in the minutes why we're moving forward with 4.
okay, so let's do that.
Well, I mean, but under your analysis, we can't vote on the minutes, we can't vote on the agenda, we can't do anything.
Yes, we can.
No, because we don't have it, I
But
mean,
she said she
we-
wants 2/3.
if you want 2/3, we don't have 2/3 to do anything.
And that's where yeah, you're supposed to.
So this meeting basically should stop at,
That's not
Roll
what I
call.
was told.
we understand that, but I'm saying if that
Who
is,
was you told that by?
but if, so that's. what
I
I'm
have a
saying.
question, I'm sorry, I wanna know who she was told that by.
One second, we can get to that in the public section.
So I mean, basically, we are either we do nothing.
We just need a reason to put down for going as 4. I think, I made the suggestion of lack of clarity. If that is just me though, and as a commission, there seems to be clarity,
And there's confusion.
okay.
But I mean, going as forward applies to everything.
Yes, it does.
Approval of the agenda, approval, so we needed, I mean, shouldn't we, the agenda that we just approved, the minutes that we approved, none of that, according to your analysis, is legit.
Well, everybody voted in favor of it.
But we only had 4, because the 2 people who added are not legit, or the 3 are not legit according to your analysis.
No.
No.
The resolution says that Clyde, Helen, and Susie are commissioners.
That resolution is questioned.
But until you rescind the resolution, it's those 3. If you decide to rescind the resolution.
But we're stuck because we can't even rescind that resolution because you said we don't have 2/3 votes.
I mean, I don't know if you have 2/3 votes because we haven't voted on it. But that's what.
Well, we tried to vote at
This
the last
would be
meeting.
the only people who would vote
I
for
have
it.
to leave this meeting, but I do have to go.
So unless we
Come on.
have a
I don't
resolution
think
for
you'll
that.
miss anything definitive, so just
Yeah, I kinda have that feeling,
safe travels.
well, thank you. And I know, wake up.
So,
I think I'm uncomfortable
Good luck.
basically going through all this, taking people's time, but we either 4 can do everything, or 4 can do nothing.
well, 4 haven't done anything.
Well, they have, because only 4 has approved the agenda and approved the minutes.
No,
Yeah,
everybody.
the other people who have agreed, they're not accepted or recognized commissioners.
But they, can I quick say before I take off? I think for this whole thing to get resolved, the city is gonna have to proceed and take this to court to determine if they are the commissioners or if we are the commissioners. And until we get to that point, it's gonna be stymied. We're deadlocked.
And I'm of the opinion.
And, I'm sorry, Mike.
I'm of the opinion that we should not wait for the city, especially when I'm looking at the agenda and I see many cases on here that need to be addressed. We shouldn't be deadlocked. We need to form a decision. And as we were stating, we're all in agreement. Us four are in agreement that we will proceed as four.
So you're gonna judge on cases that you don't have enough people to vote on, that isn't what
I
I'm
think that would be enough
Run
of
into a
a
problem
And
where
then the cases could be.
saying. Yeah, and then you're gonna ruin the people's cases that they have against,
I would, if there are questions about something, it should probably be addressed before the meeting. So like when I sent it out, if folks didn't understand what the materials meant, we should have had maybe a special meeting to go over it to explain what the materials meant, so that there's clarity moving forward, because now, I mean, we can't say that Clyde, Helen, and Susie aren't recognized because they've been voting on things. They've been voting on things since you all have been on the commission.
Even prior.
Right, but they've been voting, so we can't say that suddenly,
Which was a questionable action.
but they have been voting on things since you all have been on the commission.
Well,
They're
that's not the
notated.
first meeting they didn't vote on anything.
Yes, they did, they're
No, because
notated.
Clyde was not here.
Not
Last
last, not
meeting.
last.
No, the very first meeting, the four of us met.
They were?
Right,
No,
the big room.
yeah.
We
They
didn't
vote.
have a meeting in council.
No, the next meeting after that, the next meeting we had.
Susie was here and they were included in the minutes as voting.
Ruth Clyde
But you
has
could
been
have
absent for two
had
meetings.
that, majority, not majority, but the 3/4 was Susie here or I here, even though I wasn't here.
But it, we can't say that we're not recognizing them when they vote in a way that is not in agreement with how we want to vote. That's where it comes to an issue of being a constitution.
I don't think that's what anybody said today.
In,
Well, but they have been voting on things and there has been no opposition to them voting on things, and it's notated in the minutes that they've been voting on things. So,
Well, I know I took notes, the first meeting we took notes, and Susie and Clyde were not included in any votes.
yeah,
Now, the
they
next
were.
meeting they were. I didn't, my notes did not include them in any, or I think it must have been our special meeting.
So,
so it is our job as a commission to take the advice of the attorney. And that is where that ends. Now, as a commission, we decide. Agree?
So does that mean there's only four of us?
well, that's not on the agenda to even vote on. So there can't be a vote on something that's not even on the agenda. The thing that's on the agenda is the resolution, which addresses the membership of the commission.
Okay, can I make a motion to move the February 4th resolution discussion on top of everything else? Because we can't move forward with all these things and then not, you know.
Well, the agenda
motion's still
doesn't,
on the
we
floor
don't,
for
we didn't
the
go into
minutes.
that order in every meeting we had for the agendas before.
We have.
No, we haven't. I know we've gone out of order for a
The only
fact.
thing that we went out of order on was the last meeting when we wanted to catch Clinton before she left. But there's a motion on the floor for the vote, the motion that Michael made, so.
Which is where this all started, is to rescind the approval of the agenda. Because, speaking for myself,
Wait, you still have the motion on the floor to rescind the approval of the minutes.
Right.
oh, I'm sorry, I said agenda, you're correct, we have minutes.
No, that motion has been made, it was seconded.
And you have 4 of 6, which means it doesn't carry.
Who's 6?
We're going back to, all this is going
But
back.
here we are again, that
Yeah, it's the
if
Four of
they
six
are
is
both
2/3.
questionable. That's true.
So that would
But you
carry,
have seven.
even under your
You have seven
assertion.
commissioners, so 2/3 of 7 is 5.
No, it says present.
There's no set.
That's not what it says, it says
To
2/3
pass,
of the
to
body.
approve the minutes, or pass an agenda?
Okay, so the law, we don't get to change the law based on what Sue says.
We're not changing the law,
Right,
we're
so if you need
technically
2/3.
interpreting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's, we get into issues that relate to constitutionality when we change the procedure for doing things based on the circumstances. When we comply with the law based on the circumstances, it has to be uniform. Now, I understand that the city attorney has given you all information. They, A, are not your attorney. B, that information is not accurate. They don't do anything relating to the Civil Rights Commission, so they don't know our procedures, and they don't know the exact understanding or implications of the laws. We have a contract with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission that very clearly states that they expect us to comply with their rules and the way that they process things. There's extensive case law that says we're supposed to do things the way that they process things. The Iowa Administrative Procedures Act and the Iowa Civil Rights Act both state that we're supposed to comply with the way that they do them. So this is not, and if there was a question about it, I wish that it had been posed so that I could have provided that information. I tried to steer clear of telling you all, this is how this is, this is how that is, because it's your job to make the decision. So I just provide the information, and then you all are supposed to read through it, understand how to synthesize it. That's why it's important that commissioners understand the law and understand the processes. We cannot, it's 2/3 of the members required to make a decision. That has been,
Technically, the members right now is just 4.
but that has not been how it has been being handled. That's not who's been being recognized. So they have been voting. The resolution states that they are commissioners. So
Well,
until
we
the
would have,
resolution,
rescinded the resolution at the last meeting,
but you didn't have enough people,
according to you.
according to the law.
You told us that.
I told you I wasn't
You-
sure.
No, you asserted that we could not do that.
I
That's the only
said-
reason we did not do that.
No, you
Yeah,
voted on it.
No, that is not true.
We-
Only reason we did not rescind that resolution last time is because you said we could not.
You voted on it.
No.
Everybody vote, do you remember voting on it?
We
It's in
voted
the
to,
minutes.
we voted to
voted
move it
to-
to the next,
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because what I remember is you told us that we need to have a written resolution to replace that resolution, which we did not have. And I wish you
But
would
when
have
you
told
rescinded
us
it,
that in the
that is
beginning.
the written resolution, so I would just draft a new resolution for the next meeting that
So
says,
where is the draft? Because
we do not have sufficient votes, so it says, Erie made the motion to
This is
rescind the
what I'm talking
resolution. It was seconded by Linda.
I think
Affirmative
we need,
vote of Michael, Ruby, Linda, and Erie. Susie
That's
opposed.
exactly the point I made.
I think we need another
So-
Is that what your notes reflect?
advisor or.
I can't remember, honestly, I'll have to look at it. But I think this is
I
not
mean,
gonna
and
be
I think-
productive. I think we need to just stop, because I don't feel comfortable listening and taking public's issues on with this mess. We have to clean up our own house before we help the public.
Right.
And it's just not, it's an injustice to them. I mean, I feel bad for it, but
Thank
we were put in a situation that,
All of us.
I don't know, this was started before that we even got on here. So I don't know what all is going on at this point. I do think there's more to this than just the commission trying to do its job. Unfortunately, there's players within the city, and I hate to point fingers, but this is a city issue. These are city employees who are holding this up. And that would have to include you, Latrice.
I'm not holding anything up.
I
I am
get it.
counsel
You
though,
guys
and
have
so
to
I
get
do have a
together.
duty
You
to
and the
say-
city, your city colleagues have to get together. There's no reason that you guys should be giving us all different information.
Right.
And there's no reason that this
agree.
all should have to go in a circle.
I will
The
clarify.
commission is in the middle of,
All of us are in the middle. The commission has never received legal advice or intervention from any city department. I wanna make that clear. This is the first time this has ever happened. The commission is an independent body, which means it's independent of the city.
Are you
If you are
saying
being,
the previous one, the previous commission, or
the
up now?
commission, under state law, the commission is an independent body. So if the commission is to take direction of the city, of city employees, then they are not independent, because then you've politicized it, because the city employees work under the local elected officials. That is the reason that the commission has its own staff. That is the reason that the commission has its own attorney. So when the commission, and even with the previous issue, when the commission wasn't sure about the makeup of the commission, they brought in outside counsel, because I said, I don't know. And I am free with admitting when I don't know something. So my response was, I don't know, this is the law that I found on it. I asked the city attorney for a legal opinion. I did not get a legal opinion. I asked for a legal opinion again. I did not get a legal opinion.
There's a legal
After
opinion.
the commission issued the February 4th resolution, we received a legal opinion from Lane and Waterman. That's not a valid legal opinion. The commission, first of all, doesn't have to comply with the legal opinion that they get from the city. But we did seek it because we wanted clarity of what their understanding of the law was.
So why did you say it's not valid?
Because Lane and Waterman they represent probably a fourth of the respondents who have complaints pending in our office. So is that a
Mr.
neutral?
Malloy probably.
Is that a
represents
neutral?
those too.
That's not a neutral opinion that you're receiving,
But isn't it,
and that's not a,
wouldn't that be the same case with the current commission's attorney, because they're representing the old commissioners?
but that happened after the fact. They were not representing anybody. You get a neutral, the city attorney should be able to offer a legal opinion. And then the commission would have been able to review that legal opinion and make a decision of whether or not they agreed with it based on the facts and the law that they have in front of them. So that didn't happen, and the only opinion that was received was from an attorney with Lane and Waterman after the commission had already issued the resolution. And that opinion, again, is not issued by a neutral person, first of all, so I don't even know how, Lane and Waterman obviously has a direct, they have a direct, I shouldn't say benefit, but that affects them, who's on the commission, so.
But
to have an
I
interest-
disagree that that's a conflict. I mean, they had no idea who the commissioner or potential commissioners were.
They did, they were
I think
already
as you would be
appointed.
offended, other attorneys would be offended by you saying
They were
that they
already
have,
appointed,
that that's a
Ernie.
conflict. I don't even know that attorney who wrote that Lane and Waterman opinion.
The three commissioners who were appointed in December were already appointed when he issued the letter in February.
But for that, you're saying they have a conflict for this to move forward. For
No,
them to, yes, you're saying that they have a conflict by saying the 7 people that they said should be moving forward, ultimately, that's what you're saying,
it was the
7 people.
three.
But it's 3, but that's the 3 disputed, but ultimately it's the 7 people that Lane and Water was giving you opinion saying the 7 people that we've said are Lee, Randy, and Pat. Basically, that's what Lane and Waterman has said, that
Right.
those 7 can move forward.
So Lane and Waterman currently represents Palmer in a dispute involving our office.
How does that not, wait, before we go on from there, how for you is that not a conflict as being a lawyer? Can I ask that?
Not at the moment, Brian.
And
Why not at the moment? Why can't I have an answer for that? Cause that's right there why he shouldn't be on this commission.
We're saying-
That's terrible, terrible, how you don't see a conflict there, terrible.
Lane, so that's an issue. They currently have that representation, which is involving our office. And then you have Patricia Hardaway, who is the HR director for Palmer. That's a conflict of interest. And if it's not an actual conflict of interest, it presents an appearance of a conflict of interest.
But it's up to the commission to
And
decide that.
And so the commission decided it, and they said, their
Let's
suggestion was,
just, time is very valuable. Everybody has time, time is not gonna be replaced, and we're going in circles. I wanna move forward I make a motion to adjourn this meeting, because I don't feel like we're gonna be able to get anything done.
do we,
And I think even with the people here, there's a question of whether we should be doing it.
do we want to consult outside legal counsel?
How long would that take?
I'm sure we could find someone,
Like right away,
so,
because this is how many meetings now and we're still,
I mean, if they have been being recognized, that's the thing, so.
Do you want to go and, do you want one of us to go and see if somebody's here, or?
I can find an outside attorney to come in.
I think the
Neutral
commissioners should
opinion.
proceed to find an attorney on their own.
So, and that can be receiving a list of people that you want to choose from, or that can be, I think it needs to be a neutral person, obviously, someone who doesn't have a case pending in our office, who's not involved in anything else. But that would advise on the resolution? Or what are we seeking,
This is now, if we adjourn now, that now makes it 2 months of inactivity with cases mounting. If you're suggesting getting an outside source,
I mean, you want an outside counsel for the resolution, so if you want to table that and do everything else,
what benefit would an outside counsel give us that we haven't already heard?
they would be a neutral third party giving you legal advice on the resolution and the body. So
But
then
we
you would
can't
have
move
a
forward
neutral.
without the resolution. We can't even do this without the resolution.
You can do everything because you have 5 people here.
What you're saying is that they would give us advice, and then
Yeah.
us as a commission would act in whatever regard we choose fit. But it sounds like
Because
we've already,
It's being alleged apparently that I'm giving the wrong advice.
and as a commission, we've heard that part, but we've also heard advice from other sources as well. I don't see the benefit of another lawyer giving us more advice. It's just confusing altogether. We have context. The point is, we either need to stop now, or we need to move forward.
Michael, may I offer something? I offer that we, 4 of us right now, vote on rescinding the original communication and move forward and,
That's what we tried to do the last meeting, but she said,
but we are the commission.
that's what I said.
So can we just either do it?
I mean, that's the thing, you can do it, but you're handling it differently than you've handled it in the past.
And
And so
it'll be
that's-
detailed. It'll be
Right,
detailed.
and that's where you come in with there being an issue of, this is not how it was handled in the past. And that creates a constitutional.
I think we could do it, but my problem is if we go through 10 cases by the time because it's not giving up on the other side, what are we doing for those public people? Are we gonna redo their cases? Do they have a right to say that you didn't have a valid commission? I mean, the commission, we didn't even agree on the commission. I think that's unfair to them. I think I don't like that. I would, if I was a claimant or a respondent, and you heard my case, and you say 3 months later, well, I think we need to do this again.
And that is not how it would be handled. So there has been a resolution issue that those people have been voting from January through now. They are
Who is those people?
the 3 commissioners who were recognized in the February 4th resolution. So they are acting as commissioners. That does not impact these people's cases because they have been being recognized and they've been acting.
They haven't been recognized clearly since we've been on here. I know that, we've discussed that
But they've been voting.
every meeting. We've discussed that every meeting, that they could vote, but it's been Lee has put a objection down. I think somebody else has put an objection down, or a notation, whatever you want to call it, that it's questionable that these 3 are acting, because their status as commissioners is questionable.
But area,
That's
they've
been
been
since we've been on
voting,
that.
they are acting as commissioners.
They could vote,
They
but
can
doesn't mean
if
that
they're not.
it doesn't mean that it was, we acknowledged in the minutes, at least I wrote in my minutes, that they were other, or it was acknowledged that they were questionable commissioners.
at that point, it didn't matter because we were acting as a 4-commissioner quorum.
But you
That's how we
can't.
started. That's how we
Yeah,
started.
that's how we started. There's 4 of us.
I
And
thought-
that's when we decided to have a
I-
special meeting, that very first meeting.
I thought that you needed 4, because that's what the Iowa Civil Rights Act says. The city has argued that we do not operate under the Iowa Civil Rights Act quorum requirements or membership requirements. So this is the problem where we are speaking out of, we're saying we will on this instance, but we won't on this instance. So we have to do things according to the law, and we can't change our understanding of the law based on what suits us, because we're doing things impacting people's liberty and property rights. So it creates a constitutional when we handle it differently based on the circumstances, so it has to be uniform. They have been voting, so they are acting as commissioners. So if you are undertaking the duties of a commissioner, then you are a commissioner, and that is, and they have, the February 4th resolution says that, and the actions leading up until now says that. So if they vote in favor of taking someone's case to public hearing, then that's a valid vote to take that person's case to public hearing. Causing people to wait, I mean, that's the commission's decision to do that, but that's,
No,
Their vote
the
on
commission's
this.
decision was to move forward, the four of us, but you told us we could not.
you need 5,
Okay,
you need
then,
2/3.
if that's the case, the four of us can, if your assertion is that four of us cannot move forward on everything, that's our position, on everything, that we can't move forward at all.
But you haven't been doing it before in
We
the
have.
past. No, you.
Since we started,
Since we
we've been trying to move forward with four. We didn't hit a roadblock until we tried to remove the resolution.
All of you have been voting with them. They are included in the minutes. If you look back over the minutes that you sent to our office.
They have been noted by your office that they've been here, but we have been clear in these meetings that they are there questionably from the beginning.
That has been said at the meetings that it's questioned, but you have been marking them down as voting.
I have not.
If you look at the minutes that
No,
you.
I send my minutes to your office edits them at that point.
Yeah.
I put them down. I did not say until last meeting that they were voting. And that's when Clyde voted and Susie voted.
I think that you should review the minutes that you sent to
The
us.
first two meetings, I did not put them down as voting.
Yes, you did.
Did not.
I think you should review what you sent.
Okay, bottom line, if we four of us cannot move forward with everything, I'm not comfortable with moving forward at all. And that's my motion, to adjourn the meeting based off that, and we might as well adjourn all meetings until something else is decided. That's my motion. You can either be seconded or turn it down.
You're gonna say we have a table item. You're getting ready to say something, I was
Do
assuming.
we want, do we want to seek advice?
I have a question. How do we move forward from here? Because we have a problem.
My suggestion for the resolution would be for if the city is not going to, take action with the body, then maybe the commission should do that. Because it needs to be resolved, because we're in the middle of it. I don't appreciate being accused of wrongdoing based on someone's misunderstanding of what role the city's legal counsel has in it.
I
So I don't think we
believe-
should be drug into the middle of it, because we're all in the middle of it. My duty as the commission's counsel is to make sure that I'm advising you all not to do things that are not legal or not constitutional. That's the extent of it. I don't have a personal stake in who is on the commission. That's neither here nor there. My role is, as commission's counsel, I am a public attorney. My duty is to the public. So I need to make sure that I'm advising you according to what the law says, and so that we are doing things legally. We cannot,
Can we find our own attorney?
Hmm?
I think it needs to be so
Yes.
the ordinance says that for hearing officers, we get a list together and the commission certifies that list and you choose from that list, and those are attorneys that can do work for the commission.
The four of us.
I would be hearing
The four of
officers,
us.
you wouldn't be limited to,
2/3, and that's not 2/3.
that's a different
But
matter.
all, the three positions are questionable, so how can we move forward? We're stuck. That's why I'm asking, how do we move forward? Because we've all been here wasting our time,
And I think
coming
that-
for several meetings, and we cannot move forward on anything.
I think everybody is of the same opinion that they would like to see it resolved, so with there not being a vote on how to proceed with it, I don't.
But we can't vote.
But you
You're
said we can't
telling us
vote.
we can't vote. Okay, what happens if we do vote? Because that's what the commission wants to do. And here he details why we're doing this. I mean,
It could be considered a color of law violation, it could be considered unconstitutional, because
it could, but also could not, right?
Yeah, because that's the way the commission should work.
I mean, it's,
It's considered.
Let's break the law, maybe, maybe not.
Not breaking any laws.
So,
You four could get lucky and Nicole could win a lawsuit.
I could what?
You could win your lawsuit and then the four
Oh, I
could
definitely
be
could.
relieved of duties, so. But curiosity, Nicole, do you have any idea of when that might be resolved?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's
When I
take
win?
some combination of a court decision and or political action by the city elected officials, I think, to break this logjam. I mean, you've all been coming for a few months, I've been coming since last January, and we're stuck in the same place, and, I'm a little surprised the city hasn't chosen to seek a judicial confirmation of its position.
Because we can't win, that's why.
Nicole's the only one that saw a court resolution, God bless you. And, win or lose, it'll settle something anyway. So, I think that it's really gonna take, some sort of judicial action to resolve the question of you four. And there's nothing been initiated on the question of Clyde and Susan and me and Pat and Randy and Howard.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We have found ourselves in the same situation that the four of us have began, in which case we cannot get past the approval of the agenda. We're now at an hour past. I don't see us getting through this. I don't see us finding a resolution today. As much as I hate to say it, because we do have cases pending, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I want to do what we want to do next. I wanna know what we want to do next. Because 4 weeks gonna come and go again, and then we're gonna meet again, and we're gonna be the same boat.
Since the meeting adjourned, I think we can make a
well, did we vote on?
adjourn.
Can we vote, or whatever we need to do for the four of us to meet?
So this goes back to the very first meeting when we got to adjourn, and it was comical because we didn't have the amount to actually adjourn. We will need to meet in we'll have to have a special meeting to get this resolved prior to waiting 30 days. I can't do that again. So,
Do we want to seek a legal opinion outside counsel? How do
Yes.
we? So do we
That's
want
how I
to
vote.
just send a?
So what do? You give us a list and then we pick?
I think
You all know
commissioners
people
should pursue that
How
independently.
soon can you give that to us?
I don't think we should rely
I
upon the
would say
staff
a week,
director.
maybe.
A week. So she would give us a list in a week.
and anyone else that we want to.
Can that be vetted by the public? I mean, these are cases decided with the public in mind.
Most
and
definitely
For
should be.
y'all to pick a biased attorney would really mess up with a lot of people's cases as well. So can
I
we
think
get
that-
those vetted? Is there?
I think that
He's
makes
really
sense.
pushing for that, so that tells me it's wrong.
Yeah.
If the public felt comfortable in sending attorneys to the office, I think that could be forwarded.
The public's comfortable paying for these attorneys? That's what I think what people are forgetting. These attorneys are getting paid to do these opinions,
And that's one of the problems, it's,
but
I'm okay with
Hold
it
it
if
up.
it means people get justice on their cases. That's what y'all are here for, not
They're not
for
getting any-
bureaucratic.
You know what, I would like to hear what our city attorneys just have to say.
Why? They don't have nothing to do with it.
I would like to hear what they have to say.
They're not your attorney.
They're
You
not
just
the
gotta
attorney for the
explain that
Civil
to
Rights
you.
Commission.
It's a
That's what you're
conflict of
told.
interest.
The city and the Civil Rights Commission are two separate things, therefore the city attorney doesn't have anything over the Civil Rights Commission. She said that like 50 times
Yeah.
since you've been sitting
Do you wanna go
there.
back and-
The issue is that the city attorneys, Linda, are in an adverse
They're,
position.
right,
We're conflicted on the
right, I
benefits.
remember that.
And so.
I don't think that's, I mean, if they come back with a different opinion, they're not.
Now we have three opinions
Should
instead
not
of two.
send that out.
Yeah.
Unless you have come back with somebody who agrees with what they're saying. They're not gonna do that. And then all that does is resolve.
But then how do we
And
decide
they,
what's
You know,
the issue is gonna
I
have
think
to
it's
sign
important.
their.
I just want to agree.
Yeah.
We've never had an
I
issue
would have standing.
So
on
what
it.
do we want to do
We
together?
were,
It's,
Well,
I just wanna.
Here's
I
the
don't know
dilemma
that
I've
Eric
had.
Long will
I
have to
believe
say
I would have
this,
standing
this,
to
this,
pursue
so
my
I
status
asked
as
the
commissioner.
city
I'm
whether
not
or
been
not
inclined to use my
this
personal
issue that was
funds
brought up
to hire
was
an
an
attorney
issue.
to pursue it.
And the commissioner
You know,
said,
given the high salaries that we collect, right? So,
to review what the law says.
but I've also
I
been
don't
surprised that given
This is what this
the
is,
mess
and
this has
is how you
created,
do it,
that
because
the
the commissioners are the ones.
city
who make the
hasn't
decision.
pursued
I
any
don't
legal
want it
option.
to ever
I've
be,
been told
perception that I am
in one
directing you
case
to do
it was
something or
for
not do
financial
something.
reasons,
But
somebody else said no,
you
it
have a
wasn't.
role of, if something
But
is
I have
happening
not
that
had
is
any
not
extensive
happening in a
discussions
legal
with
way,
anybody,
you're saying,
elected or
we have to
otherwise,
do this in a legal way,
regarding
do that.
the city pursuing the resolution of the three. Presumably Nicole's case can
I mean, I
pursue,
know that you all
can help resolve the
were given
resolution of four.
information.
Well, I can tell you the
But
reason,
The
the reason we did the resolution was to put the ball in the court of the city.
I don't know, I don't know.
To have them take us to court, prove us wrong, we would have stepped aside just fine. The city has failed to take us to court because they're not going to win. That's the only reason I can come up with. I mean, they've had months and months and months to take us to court, have a judge decide it.
You might be right, I don't know. I
So-
think they would win, but I don't know. And if
And I
they
mean, we
don't,
each have our own opinion, but
if they don't,
why are
then
they
that
just
is
letting
up to
it, you know?
Why
All
have, if
these
you think they'll win,
problems-
why haven't they resolved it then? Why haven't they done what she said? If
All
you
of
think
these
they'll win-
problems are thanks
I don't know the
to
answer
the
to
mayor
why
and
the
the city
city hasn't
council.
resolved it, I
Yeah,
wish I
well,
did.
yeah,
Isn't
you
it-
think that if
is it
they would
in the
win, that
judge's
they would have
hand
done
now?
that, right?
Huh?
Does the judge have
Hey,
any
can this be, so can
questions
this
now?
be the public
Does the judge?
speaking
Does the
point?
judge
here?
have
I'm
any
gonna make
questions
it
after
since
the
everybody's
issue?
speaking.
No.
I wanna know the question that I asked
We
earlier.
did the
Who
resolution and
is
it
talking
was
to
on
you
the city
outside
to
of
take us
this?
to court
Then
to
I
prove.
don't have.
Well,
a
it's up
judge.
to the board.
I
What
think
if
you
what
should.
you
Public
obviously
That's
have
what
hearing,
I'm
to
talking
public
to, because
wants
you
to
said,
know.
they said
I
that
can
we
hear
could do that.
The
You
action
caught
you have
yourself,
for
but
the
you
four
caught
of
yourself
us
too
right
late.
now, where is that?
So as the public, I wanna know
Right
who's
now?
speaking
Yeah,
to you
for the
outside
four.
of
The
this
judge
area.
has it right now.
The judge has
But
it.
I'm talking about the resolution for the
I'm not
three of them.
gonna
Yeah, I understand that.
You know.
Because you know that what
We
you're
put it
doing
in
is
the-
illegal,
Because
right?
it's a conflict of
Yeah.
interest. This
No,
is
I
not-
don't know that.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to talk to anybody
I know.
outside
And
of the
that's kind of why
set
we're saying,
about
you
the
know,
civil
where we're
rights
at.
commission.
Yeah.
And I want to make that clear to you, I am not,
I say take it.
they have thrust us all in the middle of it because staff doesn't know what's happening.
And then we
But I
go
also
by
serve
that.
their attorneys, so
Rather
I
than
have to
get
say,
back and forth.
I know,
doing
this is
something
great.
that's
Opinions
I'm
all
gonna
day
have to
long,
do
that's
this.
ridiculous.
Yeah, my opinions are not based off of any of the attorneys. As far as I'm concerned,
I'm not-
they're outside.
But I know that.
But I know internally,
I
we
don't
tried to
know. None of
move
this is
forward
But
before.
why is
We
it?
haven't been voting.
Sure sounds personal, dude.
The
It
city-
sounds really
You remember
personal.
writing it,
They
but
can
you
do
look at what
something
you
about
sent
it.
to me.
And we can
You
get
were
a
recording
decision
them as
one
voting.
way or the
I
other.
think
The
that's the
only
only
thing
way
that I
this will
changed
go.
was the top where they're
There's
listed,
gonna be a
because you can't
bad
have them listed
taste
as others
with
and
them
then
now.
they'll take the job.
I'm noting that they're there, but we have not accepted that they're commissioners since we started.
But see, you're going off of your memory, but please look at what you sent.
Well, that's just how it's written, but we all noticed that from the very beginning, extra commissioners were not actual commissioners. That have always been questioned since the four of us started.
This is the wrong battle to be fighting.
Well, I know that they, what they say, is, I mean, I'm not gonna ignore them, I'm not rude.
Brian,
But
Lynch?
you've been putting it in paper.
Oh, okay.
They are, they don't
I
continue
wanted
to
to give
focus
you
like
an
I told them
answer.
they can.
I was gonna answer a question he
But I,
asked
they've been
her
noted as others.
relevant to
They've
what I
been noted as others.
I'd like to know, I mean, I'd like to know who y'all are talking to. Is it the city attorney? Who's giving you this advice? She said she's not at liberty to say, which sounds
I can say what they
extremely
say.
shady, lacks transparency. And for y'all to be the ones lacking transparency, the Civil
That's
Rights
gonna be- we're not
Commission,
doing
you should be
that. There is no
squeaking
action.
clean. It's absolutely disgusting that you're not. You all are supposed to represent, I'm a woman of color, I have a fucking say in this too. And it's really humiliating and horrifying that the city of Davenport has these spotlights shown on them for this kind of
So I went and looked it up.
behavior. It's really
There
embarrassing.
is,
You know, somebody from the Quad Cities, it's extremely embarrassing that y'all are supposed to be representing people who are
if they
in the
are
margins,
acting
who
as
are
commissioners, did
really
their-
struggling and need these cases looked at. When you're looking at over 2 years to look at a
That's
case,
what the case
and we're
law
doing
says.
this,
They
this
are
is a
acting
dog
as
and pony show
commissioners.
from the
They are
mayor, and
taking
it's very
duties.
clear
They
to
are acting
everybody
as
here,
commissioners.
everybody who's watching at home.
can't say
It's
you're
pretty
allowed
darn
to
clear
act
what's
as
going on
commissioners
here. It
when
sure
you're
seems to me
ruling
like
on
you have a
other
bias
people.
personally. I'm not afraid of
I don't
you.
think that's what we
honestly know
did,
you
though.
or
But I mean,
care
not only
who you
that,
are.
We're fine with
I
it.
really feel like you
Everybody
have
can
an
come to this
agenda in
meeting,
this
but I
room.
don't, we haven't done
It's
it.
really-
No action
It's
has been
really
taken.
horrifying.
And any votes they had, it
The
would have been
people are
acknowledged, but
watching
it has not
and
moved us
watching
forward.
it closely, and I really sincerely hope that y'all are coming correctly.
Well, that's my
Whatever
point.
lawyer you have, you know, whoever's whoever's telling you not to say who you
But
were
they're not the
talking to,
2/3
I
that
really
makes us
hope
our
they
meeting
know
now,
the laws
because they are
strongly as Latrice
Well,
has to
Tracy,
say in the
I have a
matter,
question.
who is
So what's the
having a
resolution
stake in the
that we
game, you know.
signed as acting
If you know it
commissioners,
as well as
the
she
seven of us,
does, when
that
this is how she
recognizes
lives
them,
and
right?
breathes to
So
do,
until that is out of,
good luck to you.
And that's what
Play.
it is.
Just
So
hold-
that's-
Look,
the four of them
I-
can't just be
time
like,
is, I
no.
don't get this time back.
I don't know, you may not want
I'm
to.
not gonna keep
The issue
trying to.
is-
You know mine, I
The
think.
issue is,
Um,
it doesn't
I
sound
don't have
like
any problem
anyone is opposed to
saying who I
seeking judicial
communicated with.
resolution.
Who are these
City.
lawyers? I'm really
Complying with
interested.
law.
I'll
The
definitely
reference I
not.
made
At this point, I think
today
that's
I
the only
think
thing
you
that's
have
gonna
to
But
resolve.
answer the
Pharmacy
question, you're
attorney.
not afraid to
To
say,
do
so who
that.
are you talking to? And who's this lady
I
talking
don't
I
to?
think,
haven't
I'm
I
really
think
interested.
that you
spoken
have
with
sufficient votes to do
anybody
that.
about
If
the
something
issues
is
that were
done
addressed today.
legally,
Well, you
I
just
had
said you
no-
did, so now you're kinda talking
No,
out both sides of
I
your
don't-
mouth.
No, I
You
didn't.
said I'd be happy to tell you who I've been talking to,
Only
who
the
she's
four
been
of us only
talking
agree
to,
the
and then
four
you
of
say,
us.
but I haven't.
We
That's
don't
what
agree to
communicating
Lee, we don't
I had an
agree to
email
Clyde.
from the city.
Then they're
When
never
we're
gonna
saying
go
the
for
four
it,
of
and
us,
they-
don't have,
then we can't
So
do
you
it.
are getting
The
advice
four of
from
us
the
can't do
that's
anything.
where, and that was the
We
reason
did
that
get
the
advice
commissioners
on the quorum
did the
issue.
resolution.
And are you
because
supposed
it
to follow that as an
creates a-
independent commission?
We don't have enough people.
We have a
don't
choice
four.
as commissioners to
So-
determine.
I don't think you
Are
did,
we
I think
gonna do
Latrice has made it clear, like, there is a conflict of
And so
interest when you do that, you're an
That's
independent
why they did
commission,
the
right?
resolution. If
Yeah.
the
Yes
city
or no?
wanted to
Why
say,
do I know more about
these
this, and
are
I'm not
these
even on the
people are
commission, like,
correct,
y'all
they
should
could
come
very easily take
prepared
it
to
and
talk
file.
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
not,
You sound
I don't know what the
foolish.
city did or didn't
You
do,
sound
that's
like you're
not something
talking
I
out of
can
both
work
sides of
with.
your
Right,
mouth.
so
I
you're
like to
Expect
do
more
what
from
we
an
do.
educated,
What
like,
we've
one
given,
person on
the
it.
four of us are willing to move forward. If the four of us can't move forward, then we're not doing anything.
And I think you need,
Then the four of us won't do
I
it.
think legally, it's, you have those people, and you have the resolution, so we will get together a list
You
and see.
tell that guy who
But I
kicked
just
out
wanna
of the
make that
store
clear
and
to you.
treated poorly, tell people
My
who are
role
being
is simply to
discriminated
say,
against in their
I think
housing
we can do
cases,
this.
that you are on their
This
side.
is what the law says, it gives you all the law. So, for
Laugh.
people to say they didn't
Laugh about it,
understand
'cause your
what the
whole
law
generation
meant,
going
they
extinct,
should have
I can't
asked.
wait.
Well, I think it was understood what was being said, but it doesn't matter. This is all circular. Like I said, it'll be what it is. Clyde, I would say congratulations on the retirement. I know it's a loss to the community, but I understand your family
It's
probably
a, it's a
has.
gain in a little different way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for you and your family, I'm sure you can do some other things now.
Yes. Spend more time doing things.
Yes, got some grandkids, I'm sure.
That's a big part of it,
Yeah,
yeah.
enjoy it.
In 3 years, went from 3 to 8.
Public, I appreciate
So,
that you
It's time.
I hope to get there at some point myself. That's
All right,
that's
well,
my
take
goal.
care.
Take it easy.
So the DOJ is gonna be here Thursday. And then we have
I mean,
we
they-
shouldn't be doing anything that's not legal while we are under review.
you know,
Why-
education level allows them, I don't understand what they were, it was pretty cut and dry, over and over and over.
Why aren't we able to get, or should I say, the city not come forward with something to get clarity here? I'm talking about take it to court.
Because they're choosing not to.
Because they don't, I personally think it's because they know they can't win. That's my opinion, because
I mean,
otherwise,
that would solve all this.
because otherwise why wouldn't you have
And
done
They could have
it,
changed
you know, months
the
ago?
ordinance to clarify what it, to change what it means, to make it say what they wanted it to say. They have that authority, and that was recommended to them by the commissioners, and they chose not to. I mean,
Well, you know, that's
the thing.
kind of why we did the resolution, was to put it in their court to have someone decide this, and, you know, it's been 6 months, so.
To come back with a opinion from Lane and Waterman and say that that's a valid legal opinion, and then for them to say that's not a conflict, like, how? I mean, they represent Palmer, and she's the HR director for Palmer. That's a direct conflict, but also it creates the appearance of a conflict. So,
So
I mean, they
they don't
can-
wanna take it to that level.
and they didn't provide that legal opinion for the commission, they provided it for the city. So the city's legal opinion is the city's legal opinion, that doesn't mean that the commission is having to abide by that. And also, I don't think that there's
It takes away the independence of the,
Exactly, I think that
commission.
there's a lack of understanding about what independent means and how there's if the city's legal team provided legal direction and advice to the commission, then that's basically council's
attorney providing legal advice and direction to the commission. So then that means that the commission is not independent because they are acting under the authority of an employee, acting under the direct authority of counsel. So then, I mean, that doesn't make sense. The city's attorneys are political appointments.
Right.
And I mean, that's, and I understand that they don't know when they're being put in an awkward position, but for Lee to accuse me of, I mean, I don't appreciate that.
Well, he joined us in the slander group, you know.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I don't appreciate that at all. So, I'm being widely praised by federal counterparts for my legal work and recognized there, but someone who's not an attorney and who doesn't even understand the law is telling me whether or not. I mean, that goes into professional defamation. I don't appreciate that.
Next, you're gonna be accused of aiding and abetting.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that. I mean, the resolution is there, the law says what it says, so, I mean, and if there was a lack of understanding or clarity of what the law said, then that should have been asked before we get to the meeting and people are here waiting to have their cases heard, and then now we find out that you didn't understand what it meant. That's not fair to the people who are waiting to have their cases decided. And we can't change how we do things based on a vote not coming out in the way that you wanted it to. Because you all have been being counted, I mean, he might not remember, but he's been counting you all as voting in all of his minutes. So, you can't say that someone isn't others present, but then have them marked down as voting.
So when you put others present, are you supposed to put everybody as you?
Yeah,
Cause yeah, I was excluded off of that from the last
the
minute.
last one,
I even signed in on their little
yeah,
sign-in sheet.
it wasn't,
So I thought that was kind of funny that they excluded me.
yeah, I mean, they've been voting, they've been being marked as voting. Approval of the agenda, a vote of agreement from Michael, Ruby, Susie,
Mhm.
I mean, they've been being marked. So, you can't say that they're.
But I mean, not even just the voting part though. I mean, there's a resolution. You can't just because you guys don't like it, be like, no, don't think we're gonna recognize you today, Clyde. I mean,
Well, we've been recognized in other ways, I mean, that's not, and then, yeah,
well, I gotta go back to work. Let me know how it goes with the DOJ on Thursday.
yeah.
I'm glad I made this meeting.
Hey Director, how's it going? Not too bad. Just want to ask you for some clarification here. So there's not going to be any direction to do outside counsel for the next one? Is that what's going to happen? Or I didn't hear them say that, do that before they left, so I just saw an adjournment. I should say,
Well, yeah,
Well, I'm asking you, did I miss something, or did
well, what I got was compile a list.
compile a list of outside counsel?
And so then I guess we'll have to have a special meeting where they vote on who they would like to choose.
Okay, and you mentioned that's been done in the past, I'm just curious, like, if you could just elaborate just for my background there, you know, like I know
That's what
that,
the ordinance
yeah.
says. So the ordinance says for selecting an administrative law judge,
Mhm.
we would create a list and then the commission certifies the list for people who are attorneys who are used as administrative law judges.
Ah, okay. So, at that point, could the attorney just evaluate the law and then send you an opinion and then, you know, is that just a possible outcome or something? I'm thinking I'm just trying to think through what
I mean,
the value in doing that is
well, they
getting an
could
opinion
get
from
a-
the attorney and then maybe potentially asking it to go to court
They could,
at some point,
I mean,
right?
that's a possibility, yeah. They could get that outside legal opinion to decide.
Okay. You've been quiet today, Mr. Mayfield.
I'm listening. I listen better
Smart
when I'm
man.
quiet.
Well, congratulations on your retirement, I overheard, Mr. Johnson, congratulating you, so I'd extend mine too. I've actually, it's a grocery store, right? And your son, does your son run it still? Was that?
He has something to do with it.
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
say he's running it.
He's not running it? He's not taking it over or anything?
Not at the moment, no.
No. Well, what do you plan to do?
Enjoy myself.
Sounds like a good plan. Well, thanks for the help, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, it sounded like, you were a little upset about some of the comments that came out
Well,
during.
I think that that's slander and it's not,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what it's based on,
Mhm.
so.
And, well, yeah, one other thing I almost forgot to ask you about. Now, the one question about the quorum issue, was that passed out? Did you give like an opinion to everybody about?
No, I
on
just
the
sent out what the
commission?
law says,
Oh, okay.
So- that's what I agreed to do, send everything else.
Okay.
So, it was just, this is what code section it was, and you were right about the code section. So
Okay.
this is the code section, this is the case law that interprets it. So, the Iowa Administrative Procedures Act is for state agencies.
Mhm.
We are an agency created pursuant to state law because the Iowa Civil Rights Act specifically says that local agencies are supposed to create a municipal civil rights agency. They have over 29,000 residents. So in one of our cases that went to the Supreme Court said the municipal agencies are not directly included in it because it specifically says state agencies, but there's an expectation that municipal agencies comply with the Administrative Procedures Act. So I sent
Which,
that out to
which,
them.
yeah, which case was that?
Bosco,
Bosco. Can you spell that for me, please?
BOTSKO versus the Davenport Civil Rights Commission.
Okay.
And I think that obviously they have been being told that the commission is represented by, in your recollection, has the city's legal department ever done any legal work for the commission? And you
It's
told me-
independent. Commission's independent.
I mean, and it's the legal department's ordinance says that the commission can ask them to prosecute violations under the ordinance. That's what their ordinance says. So if we, like, let's say one of these cases were to go to court, the commission could ask them
Hey,
to
can you-
represent
yeah.
them. But they only do it at the commission's direction. So they have to argue the position that the commission takes and do it according to what the commission wants to do with the case. So let's say the commission says, we think that they have violated the ordinance and we want a resolution of, I mean, I don't know, they give the person $3 and they stop discriminating and create a policy. The city's legal department can't then negotiate a settlement that doesn't comply with the terms that the commission has set out because it's done at the direction of the commission. There's also extensive case law about that role. So like with state agencies, they have an attorney general that is assigned to them. And so that attorney general acts at their direction. So you do things according to the way that that agency or commission tells you to. The commission's ordinance specifically says that their director is supposed to be an attorney so that the director can